Neverway is one of the most interesting indie games I've tried out recently. It's a combination of a bunch of different genres all thrown together, mixed into something very strange, but definitely in a good way. The way that the prologue sets things up shows you the horror and RPG aspects of it, but it also has life sim elements and also has farm sim elements. You'll be growing crops, cutting down trees, and crafting new workbenches. So I guess for anyone that really thought Stardew Valley needed a horror offshoot, well, here it is. The thing that really made it capture my interest, though, is how smooth and fun the experience is. Not really the horror guy for the most part, though I do make some exceptions. I'm much more into things like dark fantasy to get my fix of that sort of semi-horror genre. They've managed to make the moment-to-moment gameplay good enough and give enough hints at deeper story elements to make my story nerd brain want to see more. Can't really give you much of a coherent story from what I experienced throughout the prologue, but that was kind of the point. It was disjointed, psychological, and clearly meant to evoke emotions and disorient you. That's because the protagonist is experiencing all of these things. You're experiencing the world through them. By the end of the prologue, you get a little glimpse at what you'll be doing. You have your own house in this town on an island away from the corporations and life that had led this character to their depressive state. You start the game in debt, I think with a mortgage, which I can definitely identify with, at least the debt part, and you need to work your way through that, which sets up at least one goal, though it's a bit less clear exactly what the main goal of the game will be. You could say that this is one problem with Neverway. The entire experience, at least in the prologue, is difficult to really get a grasp onto where you're going, where the game's going, and where you'll end up. I do feel like sometimes I like that, though. It's part of the reason I find open world RPGs and Dark Souls so appealing. You aren't necessarily given the yellow brick road to follow, you just kind of have to make shit up until you figure out the path that you'd like to take. I haven't even gone into another aspect of the game. The life sim part of it seems to be a pretty big part, though you don't really experience too much of that in the prologue, or at least I didn't. It could be there and I just missed it. But it seems like you'll be getting to know all the characters around you, even date them if that's what you'd like to do. As you take part in getting to know these characters, you'll also be growing your character stronger, since talking to them and getting to know them will give you various perks like buffs and combat abilities, which gives you a utilitarian reason to engage with the life sim elements if you don't care about the story ones. Part of the biggest treat for me was seeing the pixel art in Neverway. This is the same pixel artist that worked on Celeste, which itself had a very nice pixel art style. They've really gone all out on this one, bringing a very evocative style that captures all of the ideas that they're trying to put forward. There's a lot going on visually, and it's meant to sort of overload your senses as well, with so many things going on all at once, and they really know how to set up a moment. There were a few big moments in the prologue that have me really excited to see more of what they can do. I think the biggest potential problem with the game that I can see is if they go a bit too far. And I don't mean with the content and going too far with that, I mean by being too obscure with their ideas. A great mystery with a bit of confusion and psychological twists is great, but at some point you have to come back down to earth. So the challenge here for me is whether they can do that while also juggling everything else. There are a good amount of examples of games, indie and otherwise, that manage to do that in this sort of style and end up being some of my favorites, so we'll see if they get there by the end. I think that this game will appeal the most to people that really enjoy those psychological horror experiences and a good farm sim. Obviously, that isn't something that goes hand in hand too often, so seeing it attempted here is very cool. I'm always happy when somebody decides to really lock in on a unique idea and go all out with it, and they really have with Neverway. If there's one thing I can say about my experience playing the game so far, is that they've grabbed my attention. I didn't know that I wanted this kind of game, but now I do, so they better release it soon. And so far, the plan seems to be to release it in the fall. On Steam it says October 2026, so we'll see if that's where the release date stays. Indie devs do have a knack for pushing release dates back, though, so I'm going to take the wait-and-see approach with this one. And for more videos about RPGs of all kinds, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.